How you doing? Thanks for logging on here to YourErie.com. Checking out the Weather Academy for this week. I'm meteorologist Craig Flint, and well, we just transitioned into a new season, that being the fall season. Summer's over. It's done, so you're going to start to see a lot more of these images, and I'll tell you, with the weather pattern that we've had the past several days, we do anticipate some pretty decent fall color. So that might have you wondering, well, why do the leaves change colors? Well, it's actually a little bit of meteorology and biology combined. So a little science lesson as to why you get these yellows and these reds and oranges that you see common in the fall. This is a viewer picture sent to us from a previous fall season. But again, we do think that the colors are going to be pretty vibrant, and we're already starting to see that changeover occurring. Yeah, it's a little bit ahead of schedule. We're going to go over typically when we see the leaves start to change. So the question today that I'm asking you is, why do the leaves change color? So we're going to dive into that because there's a little background to it. Again, not only meteorology and weather, but also a little bit of biology as well. So let's get started. So first things first, in the summer when we have the sun out, the angle of the sun in the sky is much higher. The direct rays are a little bit more prominent as we go through the summer months. So with that higher sun, you get that nice green up effect. You know, that nice green, lush looking foliage out there. So tree leaves, they get their green color because of a pigment that we call chlorophyll. Now you might have heard of that term before, chlorophyll. That green pigment. And what chlorophyll does is its main job, it's responsible for the absorption of the light to provide energy for a process called photosynthesis. So direct sunlight really helps those leaves green up, and that light from the sun is absorbed, and that process takes place right through the summer months, okay? Known as photosynthesis. So the photosynthesis, to break that down and get technical, is the process used by plants and other organisms that converts light energy from the sun into chemical energy as we go through the summer months. So that's why the leaves are the greenest in the summer, because of that direct sunlight. Well, as we go into the fall, as we go later into the summer, and then eventually we transfer into fall, the sun angle in the sky becomes lower. So that energy isn't quite as benevolent, if you will, as we get into the fall season. So what happens in the fall? Well, as the sun angle gets lower in the sky and the weather turning cooler, the process of photosynthesis slows way down and then eventually stops. So as photosynthesis stops and slows down, the leaves leave other chemicals behind, which causes the leaves to change color. So once the photosynthesis really slows down, that doesn't allow the leaf of the plant to take in as much nutrients. And you can actually tell when the photosynthesis process starts to slow down and stop. Because if you go up to a maple tree and you look at the leaf on the maple tree, you'll kind of notice like a filmy, like corky substance. You can actually maybe scrape it off with your thumb a little bit. So that's an indication that that particular tree, the process of photosynthesis has slowed way down and it's about to stop for the season. So if you notice that kind of that corky, filmy substance on a leaf, that's usually your first tip-off that the photosynthesis process is slowing down and coming to a stop for the year. So here's some of the other chemicals. I mentioned, you know, chlorophyll, which is that green pigment that you get. Well, when photosynthesis stops, you don't get as many days with that green color. That green color starts to fade away. And then the other chemicals, I mean, this is just a list of 4, but there are several others. But the other chemicals and the most common colors that we see in the fall are yellow, orange, and red. Xanthophyll is the pigment, or the chemical, I should say, that kind of gives the leaves the yellowish color. Keratin, obviously orange. Think of a carrot, right? So you have orange leaves, which is the chemical of keratin. And then the last one, tough to pronounce, but it's called anthocyanin. Anthocyanin sounds pretty intense, right? Well, anthocyanin is what gives you those deep red colors that you typically see in the fall. So that's just a list of 4 that are left behind once the process of photosynthesis stops. And when photosynthesis stops, again, the plant leaf can't take in the nutrients that it would during the summer to make for the green color. So you're left over with the other 3 here, xanthophyll, keratin, and anthocyanin, which kind of starts to change those colors, and the leaves start to change colors as we head deeper into the fall months. So how does weather tie into all of this? Well, it's important because as we go deeper into the autumn season, the sun angle gets lower, the daylight starts to become truncated, right? Darker early, darker later in the morning. So what happens is the nighttime is longer. And that's important for a color changeover. So a stretch of dry weather in late summer and early autumn with sunny days and cool nights is the perfect weather to really get those vibrant colors that start to pop. Well, we just had that. We just went through a great stretch of weather, very dry weather, and I know a lot of people with wells are starting to have issues because it's been so dry. But the positive, or the upside of all this dry weather, is not only do you get to enjoy the last vestiges of summer and nice weather, but it really allows for some awesome color. And even driving around locally, you know, I'm driving down 79 the other day and I start to notice some of those colors popping up. And as you get into far eastern Erie County, some really neat colors right along the Route 89 corridor, then up into the southern tier of New York State. So the weather has been perfect for some awesome fall color as we head through the next couple of weeks here. So let's take a look at what normally happens in any given year. When do we usually start to see our peak color here in Northwest PA? Well, here's the United States of America, and you can see out in the west and then over the northern Great Lakes and into New England, some really good looking color already starting to pop up. But I want to go in a little closer and kind of hone in on northwestern Pennsylvania, kind of our little corner of the world here. And you can see we've put the dates on here. Now these are typical, remember, kind of what we would expect in a normal year. But I would actually suspect that this will be sped up a little bit this year because of the stretch of weather we've just had. So as we look at when we normally see our peak fall color, for us here in Erie County, much of Erie County with the exception of the far eastern sections of Erie County from like Route 89 points east from like Corry to Wattsburg down to Spartansburg, those areas in that deeper orange color, which extends into the southern tier of New York State, the northern tier of Pennsylvania, October 12th through October 19th. But again, I was just driving through these areas not too long ago and already starting to see some really vibrant yellows and oranges there. A little bit later, by about a week or so, for much of Erie County, Crawford, down into Mercer, Venango, and southern Forest County, a little bit more like October 19th through the 16th. But again, given the weather that we've just had, a lot of these colors are really going to start to come out a little bit earlier than usual because of those warm days that we've had and those nice, cool, crisp fall nights. So perfect weather for the changeover here in Northwest PA to be a little bit ahead of schedule. And you may have started to notice some of the colors already starting to pop. So that's kind of a picture of what goes into these leaf changes and these color changes as we head into the fall. A little bit of background as to why it happens and the type of weather that you want if you are an avid leaf peeper and like to get out and take some pictures, I think it's going to be a pretty good year based on what I'm seeing already, just a little bit earlier than we would typically see, as we're already starting to see some of that color pop up. So again, the process of photosynthesis slowing down, coming to a stop. And, you know, trees along roadways and in those low-lying kind of swampy areas are usually the first to change over. And that has a lot to do with, well, how we treat the roads in the winter. You know, there's a lot of chemicals that go into treating the road. And those trees that are closest to the road usually stop that process earlier, stop the photosynthesis process earlier, and that's why we get the changeover there a little bit earlier as well. But typically speaking, it's October 19th through the 16th, and probably the most favorable tree to see those really awesome fall colors is a maple tree, which is why if you're going to like Vermont, New England, that's such a hotbed for fall colors, because there's a lot of maple trees there, and they are usually the ones that really show off. So keep an eye out over the next couple weeks here as the fall colors have really started to change. So a little background for you. We talked a little bit of biology, we talked a little bit of weather and how it all's kind of connected to provide us some awesome looking fall color. And based on what we're seeing right now, we think it will be as we head through the next several weeks. That's Weather Academy for this week. I'm meteorologist Craig Flint. Thanks for logging on to YourErie.com. If you have any questions or something you want us to cover, email us, weather@wjettv.com, and we'll be back next week with another edition of Weather Academy. Have a great day.